Hi, Helena.
Hi, Adam.
And hi to all of our listeners. Before we get to our fabulous guest, Helena, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello there. My name is Helena Dix, and I'm an international soprano of mystery. Well, I'm not sure about the mystery, but I'm definitely an international soprano. It has been said that I'm queen of the wacky high notes, but don't let me tell you that. Come and watch a performance and see what you think. Apart from causing chaos on global stages, I also love to teach. I have a beautiful dog called Bastion, who I adore, and I love to get in the kitchen and do a good cook. So feel free to come around for cakes at any time, apart from when I'm singing high notes.
And my name is Adam Miller. I'm a former opera singer turned producer, writer, and director. Now, today we're joined by a tenor who has shaped the landscape of Australian music for decades. David Hobson is known for a career that stretches from rock bands to opera houses to television and everything in between. You'll know him from Opera Australia, Carols by Candlelight, his chart-topping albums, and his unmistakable mix of artistry and charm. Plus, he's currently starring in the hit show Boojum for Victorian Opera. I'm very lucky to have worked with David via the Burundara Eisteddfod, where he sits on the advisory committee and has adjudicated the aria competition. He brings a generosity of spirit to every room he enters and a wealth of insight that only comes from a fascinating life lived on and off the stage. Now, we pick up the conversation with David, recalling where he first heard Helena sing way back in the dawns of time. If that sounds interesting to you, then listen on.
Correct me if I'm wrong, maybe something like, was it Mascani, or was it, maybe, was it the Easter hymn, something like that?
I think the Nuns Chorus or something
Nuns
like
Chorus,
that.
well, something like
Something
that.
like that, yeah.
Nuns
Yeah.
Chorus.
You did the Nuns Chorus by yourself? That's impressive, Helena.
They call me Holy, Holy Dix, but let's not go there.
So what's the podcast called?
It's called High Notes and Anecdotes.
Okay, let's go.
Let's go.
So you're perfect for it.
Yeah, he's perfect
High
for it.
notes
He's
and-
got high notes and anecdotes. That's exactly right.
That's what you bring to the party. Well, you bring so much to the party. You're a man of many talents. You do a million different things. But we might actually kick off by going right back to the start, because I'm really interested in how you got into opera in the first place. Because, of course, you started in rock and jazz bands before you moved into the classical world.
Uh-huh.
How did that come about? And how did rock and jazz influence?
Have we started?
I guess we have.
Apparently.
This is kind of how we roll.
Wow, we're up and rolling.
That's what she
We're
said,
rolling.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're starting with an anecdote, not a high note. So there we go.
Well, you can do whichever one you want.
How did I get into opera? Well, I didn't have any ambition to be an opera singer, and I didn't really know much about opera. I grew up in a relatively musical family in Ballarat. I mean, my dad was into music theatre and, sang in church choirs, and he was like the baritone du jour for all the local, music theatre roles. He was Fagin and Hick.
Baritone. So was he disappointed that you went tenor?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, he was a light baritone, so maybe he was a lazy tenor. Who knows? No,
A lazy tenor. Right. Okay, no, so tenor runs in the family.
He bought David all this really tight underwear when he was little, hoping that he'd go up to tenor
Correct.
and that he wouldn't stay with baritone,
he bowled at me in the nets, in cricket.
That's it.
Without a protector. No, it wasn't that. But it was a pretty musical family. I had 4 sisters. Is this too long-winded?
No, this is great. This is the whole thing about this is it's just a meandering chat.
Well, if you kind of want to know my background, it was, yes. So I was one of 5. I was the middle child. I was the only boy, though. So all my sisters learned 2 instruments, by the way.
Oh, wow.
I kind of started to learn instruments, but then I was too much into sport. But I sang, and I started to get into rock and roll, obviously when the hormones kicked in. So, but my dad said, my mum said, he should be continuing on with his piano or violin. He said, don't worry, he's a singer, or he can sing, which was pretty stupid of him, really, but that's because he was a singer himself. But so yes, you're right, Adam, I did play in rock bands and what have you, but I wrote a rock opera based on Macbeth.
Really? What?
Yes. So I was at university, I was studying commerce and also designs on doing law. But I spent most of my time playing footy or playing the piano.
Okay.
Obviously I should have done music from the outset. But I had written this rock opera in my early 20s based on Macbeth. And I did a demo tape where I, did all the voices with the lyricist and I played all the instruments. You imagine back then, there was no computers. So played everything and had a synth. So it was fully orchestrated, 2 hours of sung through madness. And I did what's known as a backers audition. So the Art Centre had just opened, the Victorian Art Centre. And I took this demo tape, it was a cassette, to the Art Centre and said, I was hawking it around. They said, yeah, well, look, we like it. We need some money though to put it on. So we're going to do what's known as a backers audition. So on the stage at the State Theatre, just me and a piano playing through, probably half an hour of the material, singing and playing it. And there were all these producers out in the front, and one of them happened to be the Victoria State Opera.
Oh, wow.
And they said, look, yep, we're going to put money into the show, but we think you're a singer. I said, oh, yeah, okay. They said, we're doing this new production of The Pirates of Penzance, this new Broadway production. We'd like you to come and understudy the tenor role. I said, no, sounds a bit daggy for me. Thanks very much, but no thanks. But they rang me a couple more times and they said, look, it'd be really good for your composition. We think, it'd be good for you to come and do this. So they kind of convinced me. And so I understudied the role of Frederick. Was that Broadway production, Dave? You remember John English?
Yeah.
June Bronhill. And it launched a lot of young kids were in it, like Marina Pride was Marina's first show. It's like people like Todd McKenney, John Welsh. I mean, it was a whole stack of us. So that's how the singing started. So I went in and I went on as Frederick. It kind of snowballed from there. They kept offering me stuff, even though we did, I just consider myself an accidental tourist. So that's literally how it began. So yes, I was doing rock and roll.
Do you still consider yourself an accidental tourist?
No, because I did fall in love with the music. I mean, I grew up loving classical music as well.
Yeah.
But I didn't, and my dad sang kind of classically in that old, Peter Dawson type way. So that sound was always in my head.
Yeah.
And I was from a pretty clanny Welsh family. My dad's side with Joneses. So there was all, Rhys and Evan Jones, and everyone was a Jones and everyone sang. So there was always singing and there was always lots of singing. So I grew up with that sound in my head, but I didn't think I was an opera singer. But I obviously naturally sang with a relative, high, squealo-y, classical-y type sound to a degree.
I guess my burning question right now is, did they put on Macbeth, the rock opera, and
yes, we did do it.
Did you sing Lady Macbeth? I mean, that's all I need. That's all I need to know.
No, unfortunately, no, I didn't sing Lady Macbeth, even though I did sing Lady Macbeth on the demo tape.
Now, that's something for the records.
We did actually we did a version of it at the Art Centre. It had Daryl Braithwaite as Macbeth and Jennifer Lettick as Lady Macbeth. People like Rhonda Birchmore were one of the witches. And so we did a pretty decent it was a big workshop. Mm-hmm. But it was a production and people came and it got well received, and so we were going to take it to the next level. We had the original director of Jesus Christ Superstar from New York was going to direct it. We had called Frank Rossaro. He traveled over 3 times. We had a designer from San Francisco. It was going to be a big $1 million production back then. But the people who had their money in a thing called the History of Australia, the musical Manning Clark's History of Australia back in 1988, a musical on 6 volumes of constitutional how could it not fail? That failed. And so the people who had their money in that lost confidence in putting money in shows. So my show got put on the back shelf. I went into a steep kind of mental decline, but opera kept on rearing its head.
Wow.
So I think by that stage we'd done a country tour of La Boheme, so I was kind of considering opera as a little side thing,
a side hustle,
while I was doing my writing. Does that make sense?
Amazing.
Yeah. So that's what happened. So that's how I got into the biz, I guess.
And so, do you still think of yourself as a writing singer or a singing writer?
Oh, look, I mean, as you both know, being opera singers, you both being classical singers, it is a full-time job.
Yeah.
To be a singer, the older you get and the further you go in the business, the less you know and the more you have to practice, the more you have to discover. So, look, yes, I still write and I was still writing and I've done film scores and little one-act operas and songs and what have you, but I'm probably more a full-time performer than composer.
Yeah.
Yes, but for a while there, I was touch and go. I did take about a year or 2 off in the late 90s when a guy, David, do you know David Hirschfelder? So David, who's a film composer, do things like Elizabeth and Shine, what have you. We grew up together.
Okay.
I took a year out of opera where we just wrote. We were going to do a music theatre piece, but we couldn't get the rights to a thing called The Alchemist. Have you heard of a book called The Alchemist with Paulo Coelho?
Yep, I love it.
Yeah, beautiful book. And Warner Brothers had the rights, so we couldn't get the rights. But we did it. We were working on a world music concept. And world music was very much in the zeitgeist back then. So we did an album called Inside This Room, which was kind of basically about world music and espousing the kind of philosophies that Paulo Coelho was kind of citing in his book. And we used the voice of a guy called Joseph Campbell. I don't know if you've heard of Joseph Campbell, who is a mythologist. And Joseph Campbell was an American he's also, I find him like a tribal elder, a brilliant philosopher and mythologist. He was the inspiration for George Lucas to write Star Wars.
No way.
Wow.
Yes, because he did this thing. He used to talk about archetypes, and he wrote a book called The Hero of a Thousand Faces, which was literally talking about all creation myths and many. Is that your phone, Helena?
It's my doorbell. Great
it's your
timing.
Doorbell.
Yep. Sorry. My apologies.
We can pause for a minute. You go and do it. We can pause.
Okay.
But anyway, I don't know where I got to. But
sorry, there's like all kinds of things going on over here. So my apologies.
What are you doing at the moment, Helena?
What am I doing
up to at the moment?
Like career-wise, you mean, or not just sitting here talking to you?
What are you doing, Helena?
What are you doing,
you're getting
Helena?
the doorbell. You're letting the dog in.
So rude. I've just moved back to Melbourne actually after 22 years in London, so that's quite exciting.
And how's that feel?
Look, just amazing.
Liberating.
Yeah. No, it's just really nice. It's nice to come back. It's been wonderful, but my heart's always been in Australia, and I am at the core very Australian as a human. So I think that there's only so much kind of globetrotting you can do before you know that you got to come back. And my mum's getting on, and we've moved in next door to my mum, which is amazing.
Oh, nice.
And just being able to see her every day and stuff is just the best ever. So
look, it's really important, and it's that's a lovely thing to do. I mean, I just lost my mum last year, and it's the time you spend with her, particularly in the latter years, are really important. And
absolutely.
And if you're lucky enough to have her at that age, I mean, it's
correct.
It's even more special.
And that's why I wanted to take it now and sit and be like, no, this is the right time, and I can go off and do. No, look, so I've just come back and can fly the flag, and of course, singers, no matter which country you're in, every singer wants to go to another country and another
country
and experience their culture and do the things. So I say this to Australian companies. They're like, oh, we can't afford to have blah blah, and I'm like, why don't you just bloody ask them? Like, I know so many. Even like really big names from America that I've worked with who have said to me, oh, just let us know. We'll come out for half the price, like just to come out and do it, and I think people forget that, people forget that part of the joy of the job is just learning about different places and experiencing different rehearsal rooms and people and vibes and stuff.
Different cultures. Yep.
Yeah.
Because it isn't it.
I was just going to say, although, am I right that you're not a big fan of flying? Did I read that correctly?
Look, it used to be. Yes, you did read that, and that did kind of stop me for a while there.
That'd be
I had a real kind of, but recently I'm on a plane almost every week.
Right. Yeah. So not so much now.
So
your touring schedule is bonkers.
I just toured all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely chat about that a bit later because I'm really curious about what you've been doing, what you got coming up. Because especially your shows with Marina Pryor are legendary. Like everyone has seen at least one of those shows somewhere and raves about them. That's what's really lovely is that they've become iconic, and I know they will go down in history as one of those cultural things that people, you saw that show, right? No, of course I saw that show. I saw it in Ballarat. Oh, I saw it here. I saw it there. That's what I think is really interesting. But we'll definitely chat about that later because I've got a million questions around all of that type of stuff.
But you know what? Can I interrupt there, Adam, and just say, and I wanted to say this to you, David, is that when one of the things that I reckon about opera nowadays that's not as cool as it was, back in the day is having names like yourself who are associated with the opera world. And nowadays there's not as much of that,
No.
Yes, like the top 5%, but you know what I reckon will bring people back are people like yourself, people who have these fantastic personalities, fantastic entertainers, people that you can put in front of the social media, have a bit of a laugh. The public get to know them, and then they want to follow you. They want to go to stuff that you're in, you know. And I think opera companies need to do this again. This is something I'm really strong about.
I think, Helena, they have not been propagating the younger talent, or like, I was lucky. I had no kind of say in becoming a bit of a name or what have you. But it just felt as though over the last 20 years or so, the companies haven't done that with singers.
Exactly. Yeah,
they've just kind of gone, here's the opera.
Yeah.
And here's a poster.
But I think that's conscious because there's that opportunity.
It was conscious.
Yeah.
They did consciously do that, and I think it was wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we all love kind of aligning ourselves with a singer.
Yes.
Or you get to know the singers. Like, we grew up. I mean, in Australia, I grew up knowing who Donald Smith was, or Anson Austin, and the tenors these days, the young tenors wouldn't probably know who the tenors above their generation are, or the sopranos. Right. Like, Helena should be a householdy name, like Joan was, or even Joan Carden back in the day.
Yes.
Yep.
Yvonne Kenny.
Yep.
It didn't seem to happen, or it doesn't seem to have happened as much over the last 25
and I think
years ago. Someone else was saying that the other day.
It's insane because we live in a world now that's dominated by the ideal platforms for that to be happening. And and I really do think that people still love it when they can, follow a singer and
identify with.
Opera Australia certainly definitely don't do that anymore. And I'm just so pleased that they've put their young artist program back in and they're starting to do different things now. But like for me, like yourself, as you said, all these names of these great singers, and I even call them, and I mean this in the nicest way, like household names, like people who don't necessarily go to the opera all the time, know who these people are. They know who you are. They know who Marina Pryor is. They know who, they know who these people are. But then if I said to someone in Australia who literally had never been to the opera, name me an opera singer, name me an Australian opera singer.
They wouldn't know.
It's wild what people...
or they would say, like, fan of the opera. They'll say Anthony, or,
which is also fine. But
and Anthony did do the... And I'm talking about Warlow's now, someone who was earlier opera, but they would say that's opera.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Yeah.
I've been to the opera, been a fan of the opera, but you haven't.
Yeah.
But also, I think, I was also in the tail end of where there was dare I say, like a hierarchy, and there was you step stones to get to a certain point. So, when I first went to the national company, it was an ensemble company.
Yep.
I think there might have been 34, maybe more singers on contracts, principal artists.
Yeah, wow.
And so as a young singer, you literally only spoke when you were spoken to. I mean, you had that, if there was a definite
absolutely
hierarchy, and you had to earn your stripes, and you learned from, the respect. You had to respect the older singers, and you learnt and you watched and you...
Yes.
I don't think the younger singers have had that opportunity as much these days because they don't have the ensemble like we used to have in the day. I think that makes it more difficult as well.
And it's
to kind of establish...
Yeah, exactly. And it's an interesting attitude to, like, what you want to take from that rehearsal room and what you want to learn. Like my very first job at the Met was covering on Hernani, which I've spoken about a couple of times on this podcast. Domingo, Francesco Merli, Angela Mead. And I remember the first day I said to the office, so am I allowed to attend every rehearsal? And they turned around to me and they said, if you want to. And I'm just like, what? So as a cover, and as a cover at the Metropolitan Opera, it was at the beginning, it was optional for us if we wanted. I was the only cover for the first 3-4 days that sat in and watched the rehearsal process. And I thought, and they weren't even that young, the covers, and it struck me as quite arrogant and foolish to be thinking that maybe you thought you were so great that you didn't need to sit there. But quite frankly, I don't care who you're watching. Colleagues at that level, you're going to learn great, good, fantastic things, bad things, wonderful things, like just being present in those kinds of rehearsal rooms and watching. And, I'm taking, like you were talking about with the hierarchy thing, I wasn't like, I know my place, I'll sit in the corner. I was like, popcorn city watching Domingo like weave his magic and cause chaos because he didn't know his words. And I found that really fascinating, and it changed over the time. Eventually we had to be in there, and then occasionally after a few seasons of me coming back and some of the sopranos that I was working under one of them in particular, who shall remain nameless, said that she didn't want me in the room watching. And I was like, all right. And then literally the next day I was called in to run 3 acts of the show, having never seen it, because she refused to let me into the rehearsal room.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
but the things I learned from watching some of these masters was phenomenal. James Levine in there conducting, you know, I did a rehearsal with him. You know, it's just awesome. So that time that you're talking about is so valuable. Invaluable to you know, for all of us.
And you just hope that the kids get that these days. But it doesn't feel like they have in Australia.
Yeah.
The opportunity as much.
Yeah. It probably leads me to a question that I wanted to ask around Boojum, which you're working on at the moment with Victorian Opera. And a lot of that cast are young artists. Is that correct?
Oh, they're all young.
Yeah, which is phenomenal. It's fantastic. Do you feel a role or a responsibility in that relationship with them when you're working with them?
I think, yes, I do. Yeah. And you want to lead by example, and you want to try to engender good habits. And it's interesting because, you know, the CEO at the VO kind of said to me, you know, they're kind of how hard I work. That was kind of what was interesting. How I'm not saying I work harder than anyone else, but I do like to work hard.
Yeah, of course.
To get it right, you know.
Yes.
Just because it's 5:30, it doesn't mean it's for me.
Correct.
It never means it's 5:30.
Yeah,
It means if I got it right, can we keep going? No, okay. The music staff can't wait. They're on time, but I'm going to stay and get it right.
Exactly.
So I think those kind of things, I do feel a responsibility of trying to lead by example. I remember also, I mean, my very first leading man of any, well, in a professional sense, was John English. Now, John wasn't an opera singer, obviously a rock and roll singer. But I just remember learning from him how to behave as a leading man.
That's fantastic.
You just treat everyone with respect. Every night is 100%. Doesn't matter whether you're sweeping the floors or you're the producer.
Absolutely.
You get the same treatment.
Yeah.
You know, as a pirate every night, on stage, he would include every pirate every night in some way, give them and you'd lift, he'd lift, the whole show would lift.
Of course, everyone just lifts to him. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you kind of learned that, that's how a star should behave.
That's so cool.
So that was, for me, that was a great introduction into the professional world, to have someone like that who's, for me, his behaviour was just, he was a gentleman and he was a hard worker and he had energy to burn for days. And
given that you are on this production and now with a lot of young artists, I know quite a lot of the young people that are in the production with you, actually, and some of them are really wonderful. What do you think is the biggest difference about being in a rehearsal room now as opposed to back in those days?
Well, look, back in the day, you would watch. You wouldn't say much. I think, younger artists now have more confidence, which is
sure.
Good. But I don't know. The difference is, that's a really hard question for me
to answer
question, because I was a different person back then as well.
Sure.
And you were just learning by example and just oozing it up, and you would go in there with a bucket of insecurity, as thinking, why am I here? Which is what I always felt when I was at the opera company. It was like, I don't belong here. I have no right to be here. These people are amazing. And, I always had that kind of sense about me.
Yeah. See, that's amazing to me that you have that, given
Why?
That, I mean, you are iconic. And as long as I've known of you on the stage, you have been iconic. And it's just so interesting. And I remember we spoke to Adrian Tamburini recently, who said similar things, that, going into Hadestown, that he's like, I felt like I had to dose up on anti-anxiety meds just to get through that first rehearsal. And, Adrian is so experienced and so talented, and everyone looks to him as an icon. And just that idea that you and people like Adrian as well, have these insecurities running in the back of their head.
Being human.
Yeah.
Well, I guess being human. Yeah, there is. And I think...
And caring about what you do, right? That's
caring about what you do.
Yep.
Yeah. You do care, and you want to make sure you do a good job, and you just, you want to be a good colleague. You want to serve the music properly. You want to get better. You want to improve. And ultimately, you want to have a good time as well. So
that also helps.
Look, I do have a bucket of anxiety every now and then. Yep.
Wow. Yeah.
But every now and then you get better. But yes, I did feel as though a bit of an imposter there for many years. And I'm kind of, you still feel that a little bit, but I I just think for me, I just never stop learning as well.
Yeah.
Like I still don't know what I'm doing. I'm still trying to work it out.
I do want to come back to Boojum, though, because I'm fascinated by this piece because it's
a wacky piece.
It's part musical theatre, it's part opera. Can you tell us a little bit about it? Because I know when this episode goes to air, you'll still have your final kind of week to go in that. So if anyone's coming along, what are they going to expect?
Well, it was a product of the early 1980s, of a couple of guys, the Wesley Smith twins, Peter and Martin. And I think Martin was head of composition at the Sydney Con, and then he was also big experimental in computer music, electronic music, and his brother Peter was an English poet type guy. Obviously did the lyrics, and they had a fascination with Lewis Carroll. So it's literally about Lewis Carroll and his poem "The Hunting of the Snark," which is this wacky nonsense poem. And Lewis Carroll, of course, is the author of Alice in Wonderland. AKA the Reverend Charles Dodgson. So Charles Dodgson was his real name, and he was a mathematician and a deacon at Christ Church, Oxford, in the 1850s, 1860s, obviously in London. So the piece is based on the poem "The Hunting of the Snark," and is it an oratorio? Is it a opera? Is it a music theatre piece? It in a way, like Candide sits uncomfortably amongst all those idioms. In a way, Boojum does as well, but it's terrific music. So in the same way that Bernstein's Candide's got some of his best music that he's ever written.
Yeah.
The same with Boojum's. It's got absolutely fantastic music in it. It's driven a lot by fantastic ensemble choir singing, and it also delves into Dodgson's obsession with the camera and taking photos of young girls. So Alice was.
Yeah.
So Alice Little, there was these three sisters who were the three daughters of the Dean of Christ Church. So when they were about 8, 10 or 12, that was their ages, he became very friendly with them, and he used to take them on picnics and read them books. I think there was always accompanied, but then they'd also go to his rooms. And as was the wont in the 19th century, children undraped was a thing. Photographically.
Wow.
Right.
And it wasn't looked on as a problem back then in the Victorian era. I mean, to the extent that, the age of consent back in the Victorian era was 12.
Wow, man.
So there's no, there's been aspersions but no allegations about his proclivity to, younger girls. But that's kind of touched on as well. So for me, that's a kind of
that's so interesting, and again gives you so many layers to play with as well.
Yes, it does. So it's a pretty interesting piece, and I think Stuart Maund has done a really terrific job of giving it a fresh approach. It's had a few iterations. I know Simone Young championed it as well. I mean, Simone did some scenes from it. I think it would have been back in the early mid 2000s.
All right,
and it had a production of it done in a couple of years ago in Adelaide, and also back, I think might have even been commissioned for the Adelaide Festival back in the early 80s or mid 80s.
Okay.
So it's got a long history. And yes, but this version has all these fantastic young singers who do you know, Helena? Who are the younger singers?
Rachel Joyce.
Rachel got a lovely voice and great, lovely stage presence. So she plays Alice.
And you've got Darcy Carroll in that cast as well, I believe.
Darcy Carroll's got a lovely bass voice.
Yeah.
I almost feel like, it's almost like I feel like I'm listening to a baby Colleen. Every time he opens his mouth. I feel like I'm just about to launch into Bohème. He's going to do the coat aria any minute. You know what I mean? He just sounds like Kalina.
I did Bohème with him last year. So.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay. I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
He just sounds. I just feel like he's going to go into the coat aria any minute.
Exactly.
He just sounds. His voice is right in that sweet spot.
He's a lovely young man.
He is.
And I saw Bailey in there as well.
Bailey, beautiful baritone. Yep. He plays the bellman.
That's right.
And Michaela.
When you do a show like this, do you feel, I know you said it's been done a couple of times, but given that it's, not people won't have seen it, as much here, do you find a sense of freedom in creating something like that? Do you enjoy doing something like that?
Well, whenever you do anything that's it was very new to me, and it's relatively difficult in some respects. I mean, metrically, it's quite challenging.
Oh.
Yes, it was.
Adam,
7, 8 or 5, 8.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The minute that you say that, my brain just goes into lockdown going, counting, 5, 8, no, what?
Yes. But yes, look, there is a degree of freedom about that. For me, it was a relatively short rehearsal period.
Okay.
It was like 2 weeks in the studio, then we're into piano dresses. So another week would have been great, I reckon. But it's been great working with Stuart, who I've got a long association with. Stuart, he was at the Opera Company, when I first went there as well. He was a resident director. So it's lovely to discover these new things, but also reacquaint we haven't done anything for a few years. So that's been lovely. So yeah, there is a degree of freedom, and it's quite interesting working on it.
And also working on a character that exists too, right? Like,
Yes.
And I find that
good.
too. I actually really enjoy studying, someone like real. Not,
have you done anything like that?
Yeah, I've done.
Have you done any modern-y?
Not so much modern stuff, but my favourite character ever that I've done is Queen
Anna
Elizabeth.
Boleyn or someone?
Queen Elizabeth in her final stages in Roberto Devereux, because I found her just like such a formidable woman and full of so much humour and strength in her determination at the end of her life. And I just doing Deborah. I mean, I love the music anyway because I'm a bel canto whore. But studying someone that's there, present, and has so many facts and so many different kind of ideas. I find that really cool. I really enjoy that.
And I'm just listening to a podcast at the moment with The Rest Is History. You must have heard those guys. The Rest Is History. That podcast. And they're doing a thing on Elizabeth at the moment. So I've just listened to the first step. Yeah, she's fascinating.
Oh.
I mean, and her mother is, for goodness sake, Anna Boleyn.
Yep.
Anne Boleyn, who was, my God, she was just so feisty and ahead of her time in many respects, but also a bit foolish.
And I also did Queen Christina, which is Cristina di Svezia, which was in Wexford. And again, like this woman who ruled the country from age 15 and just these women who were just like towers of strength and and all the different layers of what that means and stuff. I just find really cool. So it must be really cool to have that,
It is, but isn't it interesting that a lot of the female heroines are written by men?
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, is that fascinating? And in many respects, when you think about it, it's almost the women who are more iconic in opera than the men. The major roles, don't you think? I mean, yes, you've got Rigolettos and what have you, but the women seem to always stand out, whether they be Puccini heroines or, as you say, Donizetti or Bellini heroines. They're always more kind of...
There's more layers often.
More layers and they're more lauded as well.
Although sometimes when you get to stuff like Wagner, like the way that Wagner depicted women in his early stages especially really hurts me.
Okay. They got better as he got older. But yes, it is. Look, it is good to do those kind of... I mean, I've done quite a lot of modern opera, particularly in my early times. I mean, guys that were living, I remember doing... Michael Chamberlain in Lindy.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Things like that. Yeah, really wacky. And having the Chamberlains come to the opera, that was always kind of fascinating as well. But
was that confronting to have them in the audience to do that?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Lindy was, she was fantastic. Really interesting woman. And it was great to do that. But look, back to Boojum. Yeah, I think it's fantastic. And I've really enjoyed working with the younger singers. And, they're all like 30 years younger than me. I mean, my God, I'm old enough to be their uncle, their father, their whatever's. But having said that, I still feel like I've got the same energy and the same.
And how cool for them. What a great experience for them
God,
to be able to have someone like yourself in the room.
Well, I don't know about that, but they...
No, I think so. Yeah.
They're lovely. They've been great. Some really, really terrific performances, and they're kind of so savvy. A lot more knowing than we were. A lot more skill set.
Yeah.
I reckon.
Yeah. Well, they're a smart bunch, like everyone you've named.
Yeah, very smart.
Helena and I have come across in different capacities, and they are smart. They are really well put together. They know what they're doing. They know what they want to do, and they know how they want to do it.
They kind of have to be, though.
You just hope there's the opportunities. They kind of
have to be.
Yeah.
Nowadays,
You hope they have the opportunity. You hope they get the opportunities.
Yeah. Well, that is something I think Victorian opera is doing really well.
Yeah, they are.
I think they're trying to find these opportunities, and I really appreciate that, because there was a hot minute there where there wasn't a whole lot around for young up and coming singers.
True.
Trying to break through the ranks and trying to feed that pipeline of how you build a career. Like you talked about that steady progression, and I didn't see that in Australia until I went to the UK, and then I saw these feeder companies, and I saw that these smaller companies feeding into slightly bigger companies, feeding into bigger companies again, until you hit the national companies.
Yep.
And I remember talking to the team at Scottish Opera about that, and they saw a real responsibility themselves to be part of an environment, an ecosystem that fed and propagated the industry for musicians as much as for the audience. And I love that. I really, really love that attitude. And I think we're starting to see that now coming through more with the Young Artist Program coming back at Opera Australia and the work that they're really doing at Melbourne Opera and at Victorian Opera. I really appreciate that. It's fantastic.
Well, I do remember, we were lucky enough, as I was talking about back in the day, but at Australian Opera, I remember that the creative administration were very much cognizant of being pastoral carers as well for the singers.
That's so good.
In the sense that, okay, we don't have these roles for you next year. We're going to do what is known as a bridging year. You'll get this. Like they always tried to care for the ensemble singers or local singers, and try to keep them on the on the ladder of learning. Going from doing to a Barbarina in Figaro to getting the Susanna. Maybe you can't get it next year, but you'll do this. What I mean? Which I don't think that over the last 20 years, the young singers have had the opportunity, those kind of opportunities. So hopefully that kind of thing is coming back.
Absolutely. I wonder why it faded out. It's interesting, isn't it?
I don't know. I
think it's
know.
short-term thinking. It's a lack of strategic thinking, whereas I think these days there's a little bit of enlightened self-interest. Companies are realizing that if they want to feed their own engine and keep their artists coming through, they've got to do some of that work in the bottom end, because we see it in sports. We're really, really good at it in sports of looking after the young kids and feeding that pipeline.
The young academies.
That's exactly right. And I think now that the artistic institutions are starting to see that and understand strategically they need to do better in these areas. And I think they're doing it. I think they're moving in the right direction.
But it's got to be, but as you said, Adam, it can't be just the singers. It's got to be musicians as well. Like the repetiteurs and the coaches and like people like Cheryl and Gamorley, we have to get people to her, the younger coaches which I think Melbourne's trying to do with I think they have repetiteurs and what have you, but it's across the board, language coaches. It's not just the singing, and obviously the standard of singing coaching and teaching is also very important, as subjective as it is, as you guys know. But how do we keep that alive? How do we, you've got to keep the thread with all the overseas. Yeah. We're also lucky today. We are a global village, so you're just a Zoom click away from working with great people all over the world. I know, but I think it's still important to have that cross-pollination between great singing coaches and teachers. Yeah.
No, I've just been asked, literally just today, been asked to go up to Sydney and do a masterclass for a big competition. And they said to me, we don't want you to just work with the singers. We'd like you to work with young repetiteurs as well. So what we want to do is pair the singer with their repetiteurs, and for you to provide feedback because you're so experienced, blah, 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 to both. Would you feel comfortable? And I said, I think it's a fantastic idea.
That's a great idea.
It's a wonderful idea. That's what it should be. It should be if the singer's at that kind of, up and coming standard, then the repetiteurs should be too. They should be all experiencing what it's like being on that platform and working under that pressure and getting advice and getting feedback on how to make it better all the time.
Well, when I was at the Royal Academy, I taught briefly.
Oh, did you? Right.
Some of their second instrument students, and Mark Wildman, the head of voice there, had me working with a lot of pianists, because there was that opportunity to get pianists understanding what it was like to sing, and then understanding what that relationship would be, and that really vital relationship between the piano and the singer. And it was so gratifying. It's something that I really loved, and I really thought that Mark had a great vision for that, saying he wanted to breed this next generation of repetiteurs by pairing them with singers and singing teachers. It was fantastic.
That's really important. Who was your teacher back then at the academy?
Mark Wildman was my teacher. Right. I was really, really lucky to have him there. And of course, I was there with Helena, so we were both there under Tony Legg at the time. So we were incredibly fortunate. It was a bit of a golden era at the academy back then.
Tony's fantastic. Actually, I was just talking with Brad Daly. we saw Brad recently.
Of course.
Actually, he was staying with Tony recently. He just said he's his go-to guy for all his coaching still.
Me too. Yeah, I've been coaching
You
with
too?
Tony for years. Yeah, no, he's a legend. Yeah,
He is, and it doesn't matter what style. I mean, he just seems to, whether it be Wagner or Mozart, or he knows, doesn't he?
He knows. He knows the lot, and he's quite. He's got an Australianism about him, Tony. He's quite
He
blunt.
does,
Yes.
doesn't he?
He's quite blunt.
Yeah.
You know, as a lot of people he's upset over the other side of the pond, and they say to me, "Oh, he's a bit," and I'm going, "No, he's just a bit Australian. Like we're just like
Yes.
that. We just get on with it." You know.
Yeah.
Just tells it how it is. That's why we got on so
he
well
does.
with him. He's fantastic.
He was brilliant.
Absolutely.
Well, he is brilliant.
Oh yeah.
No.
Oh God. Absolutely.
And so I was going to ask you too, Elaine. So do you teach do you still, or do you teach at all?
I do, yeah. So one of the things, I when COVID kind of hit, I set up stuff, via Zoom, which was great and good for me to learn all those things. But there's nothing like being, in front of someone. So since I've come back to Melbourne, I've set up a little studio here, and I've had some fantastic. I had a couple of the Herald Sun ARIA finalists come out before the finals, and I've got now, just a nice little group of people coming out, and it, obviously, they all know that I've still got quite an active performing career as well. But I love mentoring. It's something that I've always done and always cared very deeply about from a young age. And it's just something I love.
You've got that kind of personality. I mean, you've got an effervescence and a kind of, you're open and gregarious, and I can imagine I would like to learn from you.
I do care deeply about it, and also just not bullshitting as well, like just being being real with the kids and in a nice way, but saying to them, because sometimes as you said, there's that level of confidence that now comes, and they feel free, they feel more confident, and then sometimes you actually have to stop them and say, can you please just take your finger out of your ass just for one little moment and realize that the world is much bigger than what you're making it, and you are awesome, yes, but you need to keep your glasses on. You need to keep your you are fantastic, but you are fantastic in a number of the big global world of opera, and if you want to go off and do this, you have to be so true to yourself, and also not be sorry, go ahead.
Authentic. What was I about to say? We just said true to yourself. That's what I was stressing to the kids who I've been talking to at Boojum. It's like authenticity is possibly the most important.
150%.
It's hard to do it sometimes, but because you're kind of worried, you think, I've got to sound this way or I've got to be that person. It's like, we want to see you. We want to hear you.
100%.
We don't want to hear anyone else.
And I say this to them all the time. I said, you're going to go in front of an audition panel who have heard so many singers, and whether it's a competition or an audition, and you want to be memorable. You don't want to be another soprano who's they've heard it before, they'll hear it again. And that's to do with everything about you, not just your voice and your sound and everything, but you and the way you present, and it all needs to be, and I think that's what makes great artists so great, because they are distinguishably themselves, like yourself, David. Like, people know who you are. They know who you are. They know what you sound like, your personality, your stage presence, your everything. It's like, oh yeah, I know David because that's who he is. Or, someone like Joan Sutherland, she was known because she was so unique for what she did and everything. And I think we need more of that. I think people need to just step up and own their package, because we live in a society where the next, blonde, pretty thing is fine, and it's all the same, and it's all this kind of that. But actually,
it's what's worked for me over these years.
Being pretty and blonde.
Let's not talk about where you're blonde and pretty, Adam. That's just.
But it is true. It is. But I think there is acceptance when people, break through and are just themselves and authentic. That's what we want to hear.
Yeah.
And I must admit, with opera, there was that obsession of the look there for a while, and productions. Oh God, don't talk to me about. Well, yeah. Okay. Next.
I think we all agree, though, with your. Yeah.
Yep.
What's the wildest thing that's ever happened to you in a performance? Because when I was doing my little podcast research, I read that you had this performance of Orfeo and Eurydice where the crucifix platform broke under your feet.
God, yeah.
I mean, was that sounds I mean, that actually made my heart like drop out of my chest when I read that.
Yeah, that wasn't good. Well, actually, what happened was, so it was a production of Orfeo, and they had me in a Christ-like position where I was hanging onto these ropes, but there was a little platform, and one of the dancers or the chorus members, I can't remember, was meant to lock the platform in, but one night he hadn't. So I was literally hanging on with my arms above my head. And it's one of those, I don't know if you know the Gluck. Well, it's the French version, for the au contre for a high tenor. So like 20 million top Ds.
Right.
So I'm literally hanging on. Look, I think I did okay because I was probably had to get my support in that house in order because I was hanging on.
Wow.
But I was up there for like 12 minutes,
That
I
is
think.
terrifying.
Oh, my God.
It was terrifying. And that production was pretty wild, actually, that production. Yeah, but that wasn't a good moment.
What's your favourite moment on stage? You have a favourite moment that you just in your mind? Oh, it's probably been heaps, right?
Favourite moment on stage? Oh, God. Gee, I don't know. That is really, really hard. I mean, do you have a favourite moment? Like, I don't think if you ever had a production or a performance where it's ever been 100%, I've never. But if you had one,
no, but I wouldn't. Nah.
But I've had one performance of it was L'Italiani in Algeri, the Rossini.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which I just had one night where it was like the hand was in the glove. It was like, this is what I'm meant to be doing, and it's just working.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
Like it was, most of it was like, this is what my voice is meant to do. This is, as opposed to worrying about it or thinking I'm not worthy or I'm not good enough or I'm meant to sound like this, I sound like that. You know what I mean? Because
you can relax into performance when you're like that, can't you? Like if you're having a night like that, you can just transfix yourself right in there. And
well, the only other way I can do it is to literally, surrender yourself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You surrender yourself to the music, to the production, to the character, to the other people on stage, and you only sing to one person in the audience or to no one at all. Whereas that night, it felt like, the voice is like it was like I was roller skating or surfing on a wave, and it's like, oh God, that felt good.
Oh wow,
that's wonder if I could get that again. But I must have just been, no reflux, rested just the right amount, warmed up just the right amount, like everything, the acoustic of the room was just right. Everything was, the orchestra were right.
Everything was just bang on.
Was nearly right, but most of the time it's not like that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Have you ever had anything like that? No.
I think
for
me, I class my favorite things or the best performances as the ones that when I get off, I can't actually remember what happened because I'm so involved.
Oh, that's good too. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so engrossed.
Yeah.
And I get off my Met debut was in Falstaff, and it's one of the best productions I've ever been involved in. It is genius, the Carson production of Falstaff. It's just from top to tail, like whether I'm in it or watching it, it just makes me so happy. And when they offered me my debut, they said, you can do your debut as Alice in Falstaff, or you can do your debut as Aida. And I went, how often am I going to go do Aida? Because that's so much pressure. Like if I do, Alice, I'm just going to have a ball, which is what happened. And I just remember before it, I was like, I'm going to vomit. Like this is like I'm going to pass out. And I got on stage, and I kid you not, I just got to the end, and I'm like, that was so much fun, but I don't remember anything that I did. And I know that I was just so involved and loving it. And I think for me, that's the marker of a good show. When I get to the end and I'm like, I'm not sure what just happened because I wasn't overthinking anything. It just does it.
Yeah. So have you had one of those, Adam, as well? Like have you had a moment where you've gone, oh God, that was good?
I remember doing a magic flute. I was playing Papageno, and I had an entire rehearsal period where I was playing for laughs. I was having a ball. Audience was loving it. Cast was loving it. I was having a great time. And the director took me aside, I don't know, a couple of rehearsals before the opening night and said, look, I just want you to try to be sincere. I know you're playing for laughs. I know you're trying a lot of gags. I just want you to find a moment when you can make that audience hold their breath. Just give me that. And on opening night, I gave it a go, and I still remember it. And that was, oh God, probably 25, 30 years ago. No, not 30, 25 years ago. And it's still stuck with me, that feeling of pausing before I sang my next note, and the entire audience just paused with me, and it was magical. And it's something I've chased ever since. I've wanted that moment
having
again.
The courage to do that.
Yeah,
having the courage to do that, and the audience. Yeah, I love doing that too.
Yeah, it's magical.
I'm trying to think. I just remembered a bit. You think when things go wrong in opera, as we were doing a production of Bohème.
Oh yeah,
and it was a 1950s style thing, and there was a bathtub. This is in Act 4. So, Rodolfo's got to go to Mimi with the bonnet.
Oh, yeah.
La mia cuffietta, where Mimi remembers the bonnet he bought for her in Act 2, and he brings it out when she's dying. So there was a bathtub where the bonnet usually was. And there's a pause in the orchestra before Mimi says La mia cuffietta.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing happens.
Yeah.
So I am rummaging around the bathtub. The orchestra's paused. I'm rummaging around the bathtub, cannot find the bonnet. I'm kind of mouthing to the stage management side stage going, bonnet, and they're going, oh, no. It was Cheryl Barker. Do you know Cheryl?
Oh,
of course. I saw that
Cheryl
production.
Was Mimi, and she's, okay, so she's sitting in the chair, and all I could find, so it would have been maybe 30 seconds. So you can imagine Sydney Opera House holding the, and I thought, I can't go with nothing. I cannot go with nothing. All I could find was a hubcap.
A hubcap in the bathtub.
Like a 1950s hubcap. I think in the bathtub, because we just had crap everywhere. It was that kind of production. So I thought, I'm just going to go with the hubcap and pretend it's a bonnet. And Cheryl is a shocking giggler. I mean, we both are. I mean, in Act 2, we used to see how far we could go with a lolly in our mouth without spitting it out or swallowing it before we sang. So I look at her. She sees the hubcap, and I thought, she's going to go. She's going to go. She's going to go. La mia cuffietta, la mia. It became known as la mia hubcap. But, it would have been, now you can imagine how long about 30 seconds
Oh, God,
is.
that's interminable.
In an opera.
Yeah.
And I do this little thing, a little dance where I present the hubcap as opposed to the bonnet. And I thought, she nearly went, but the audience were totally on edge.
Oh, wow.
You could feel the audience leaning forward going, what's going on?
What's going on? Yeah.
But it just
so good.
But it was funny. It was very, very funny.
Oh, that's
great.
And of course it affects everything because it's
yeah. No, but curiously, it was one of her best deaths.
Oh, wow.
It was one of our best, because the audience was so kind of engaged in the moment.
Yep.
And it felt, because it was so real. And Cheryl and I had, a pretty good relationship, so we could
really lean into it.
Are you going to laugh or you're not?
That's great. Wow.
Yeah, that was good.
I want to hear about what's next now, or the touring you do with Marina Prior, but you've got Ovation coming up as well. You've just done a tour with Colin Lane, is that right? Which looked phenomenal. Yeah.
Well, Colin, for those of you who don't know, Colin Lane is a comedian, and he's part of Lano and Woodley, which is a comedic duo, probably Australia's most loved, comedic duo. And Colin and I have been buddies for a million years, and we just came up with this idea once. I had to do this weird thing on a cruise ship called Bravo, which is where we it's like an opera music theatre thing.
Awesome.
It's Guy Noble?
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
And we have a full orchestra on board, and we've had people like I've done the last 9 or 10. That's all. We've had people like Kira DeCana and Jose Carreras with us, and it's been fantastic. Elaine Page and all Australian people from. Ted, as you're talking about, Teddy was on there. Teddy,
I'm not bitter, but they almost had me last year and then they didn't. So
what happened?
Let's carry on, shall we?
Be bitter.
I'm very bitter.
Do you know what? What's great about it is because we're all like-minded artists on this. We're stuck together on a ship, but we all get on so well. It's great.
Awesome.
It was a lot of fun. Anyway, they were going to have a comedian do something on the very first Bravo cruise. And the comedian pulled out, someone from America. And then Colin and I were loosely talking about doing something because we I like comedy and he likes music. He's got a good voice. So we just came up with this concept of opera singer wants to be comedian wants to be opera singer, the worlds collide. And we wrote a few skits and we did it on board this the cruise where we did about 25 minutes with an orchestra. So, Colin was just awestruck because he was singing with an orchestra as well. And the conceit was, and without giving too much away, Teddy Tahu Rose was on there, who's obviously I've sung a lot with as well. And we did a Pearl Fishers duet, which the recording kind of went very, very well. So the conceit was that Colin wanted to sing the Pearl Fishers duet, and I said, no, there's no way you're going to do it. Anyway, so Colin and I do this song. It's called In Tales, and it's such a joy because we sing, we do all these routines and we sing songs, and it's a mixture of opera and kind of music theatre and popular stuff, but a lot of fun. And it's kind of old school. It's hopefully charming in a way. It's like, Bob Hope and Bing Crosby or Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin. Those kind of old pairings. So it had that kind of vibe. So I absolutely loved it. And look, I've been very lucky with the duos that I've had, like Marina Pryor, as you said. I've known Marina for, all of our professional career because we both did our first show together. So you can't buy that kind of chemistry on stage. No. And if you're lucky no one cares who gets the laughs. No one, it's just absolute freedom and just generosity of spirit on stage.
Amazing.
And that's my favorite thing.
And the audience pick it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And I love it when I go to see artists and it's unfettered and we're seeing them.
Yes.
I really love that. And for these things I do with Marina, there's no makeup, there's no artifice. We still hopefully put on, serious music and serious performance, but we get to be ourselves. So I think that at a certain stage in your career, you can do that. You can't really do it when you're younger.
Yeah, true.
But I think at a certain stage of your career, it's great to be able to go, you know what? We're just going to go out and we're going to do this, and you're going to be in our living room almost. And this is who we are. And I love that as an audience member. I love going. I remember seeing Mandy Patinkin do that. Billy Crystal.
Yes.
Seeing these guys, they were so cool. Yes, they even. I know this sounds weird, but I never liked. Not that I never liked him, but Leonard Cohen, for instance, who I never really got, but I went and saw him live.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden, I got it.
Oh wow!
I kind of got this. You can't. Is he a singer? Is he a songwriter? I don't know. But the poet and the man and the humility and the humanity came out. I thought, oh my God, when I saw that live. So when you get to see singers, I remember seeing Nikolai Gedda, for instance, in his mid-60s when he came out.
Mm.
And a similar thing, he was at that stage. He still had that that amazing technique and that height and the sound, but he was also himself. Like you could feel that he.
Yes.
Yeah, he just relaxed on stage.
Yeah, no, I love that. I saw Jessie Norman right at the end of her career, and she came on stage.
Oh my God, did you?
Yeah, and she came on stage in fluffy slippers and a gown, and it was just her. And actually, at one point,
she did not.
She did, and it was for the Jazz Festival in London, and I'll never forget it because it was the only time I ever saw her live, and she's a hero of mine. But what I loved, exactly what you're saying, was that it was a piece of her, and actually, at one point, her voice broke, like it just cracked a little bit, and she just went, She just kind of went like this to her pianist, and she looked at the audience, she smiled, and she said, some days it's amazing that it even comes out. And she said, she said, you got enough of that, didn't you? And then she just moved on to the next song. And I just thought,
wow,
that's like, I want to be that cool when I grow up,
Oh, that's amazing.
And how good was it live?
Oh, incredible. And
what was it like live?
But the thing was,
just beautiful.
The voice was nothing like it was, but the artist and the artistry and just being, in front of that voice in the last part of her life with everything she's gone through, and even even hearing the voice imperfectly was in itself just such a masterclass. Like she knew what she could do, she knew what she couldn't do. She's told the story through her sound, through her body, but at this age and this stage, it was remarkable.
But wouldn't you say that we today, particularly with digital recording and what have you, the kind of, we should always strive for perfection, I know, but sometimes it's kind of when you go and hear the old recordings of people we covet and laud and love, the imperfection is almost something we revel in.
Yeah,
100%.
definitely agree.
And I say this to people all the time: perfect is boring. You know, that the part of the joy of being at the theatre and hearing a live voice and hearing the dangers of anything could happen. And all of us have been in a theatre show, music theatre, opera, doesn't matter, where something goes wrong and you watch the performers recover from it in a comedy way or a dramatic way or whatever. And you just think, shit, that was a night to remember. You know, I don't want perfect.
But do you think, but as a teacher and someone who's, you know, on the world stage at the moment, and you did talk about it, the fact that trying to get that authenticity, is there a kind of blandness a little bit, or am I wrong, just a little bit more than there used to be?
Yes.
Am I right?
Yeah.
And
I
also
think definitely.
And also the kind of, sometimes, you know, people are going for loud instead of soft, and it's not loud enough sometimes, or it's too soft, or it's, you know, the orchestra's too loud. There just sometimes there's no symbiotic kind of cohesion between what should and shouldn't be. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Sometimes you think the conductor's playing for himself. Sometimes it doesn't think about the singer a lot. Oh my god.
Yeah. No.
I'm sick of going to the opera and having the orchestra out singers.
Oh.
And then sometimes you think, okay, voices aren't quite big enough or well produced enough, but then you got to think, are they sacrificing music for the voice sometimes? But you know, the best opera conductors never did.
No, that's
Correct.
right.
Never
That's
did.
exactly right. Yeah.
Am I right? You tell me. But you've got a particularly, you know, lyric dramatic voice. So you're in you're one of the rare ones who can fill.
But we spend so much time trying. A lot of the new generation, and I said this to them when I was working with them for the Sun Aria. I said, stop trying to be loud. But
Yes.
Maestro told me I couldn't be heard. I'm like, it has nothing to do with your volume.
Placement.
It has nothing. Okay, you can't control the sensitivity of the orchestra. That's something you can't control, and we need more of that, and more people, more maestros who are listening and understand the voice. But
And someone in the house listening.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
Someone in the house, go out and have a listen.
Yep.
But the minute you say to a young and experienced singer, I can't hear you, what are they going to do? They're going to push, and it's not even going to be it's not going to be of any help to anyone. It's all about their placement, where it sits to be beautiful. I mean, Adam and I were talking about this, and I think, Adam, it was you or someone said to me the other day, you know, your voice isn't the biggest in the world, but I can always hear you even in your pianissimo in the theatre because, you know how to do it. Like,
yeah, you've got a singer's formant. You know that placement for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm very passionate about that. And you're right about conductors and things as well, and people not just trying so hard to prove themselves individually, because it's a team sport. And the minute it becomes a beautiful collaboration between all of you, that's when it's going to be at its best, not when you individually are being at your best.
And you feel supported, like you're not feeling as though you've got an enemy in the pit.
Yes.
Or, you know, a nemesis that, you know, so you're not what I want. You know, you're not what I want.
Yeah.
Well, I've got what I am. I'm here. You know, let's work together and make it work.
Yeah.
100%.
Look, David, we could definitely chat all night. I'm loving this conversation.
We haven't really.
No, this has been amazing. I've loved everything about this, but I reckon we're kind of coming to the end of our time. But before we let you go, we love to ask our guests 5 rapid fire questions. Are you up for our 5 rapid fire questions?
Well, it depends how rapid I can come back. Yep. Okay.
We'll see.
Adam, I am renowned to being indecisive.
Well, this is going to test you. This is really going to test you.
Okay.
So I'll kick off with, can you juggle?
Yeah, I can do 3.
Yeah, that'll do. We'll count that for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
1 hand or 2? No, Jackie. Have you ever busked?
Have I ever busked? I haven't busked, but I've definitely, done gigs for nothing.
Similar.
And still do.
Similar. Yeah.
Okay. If you weren't a performer, a composer, what would you do with your life?
Easy.
Oh, yeah, let's hear this one. What?
Sportsman.
Oh, of course. Of course. Yeah, so tell us about that.
Definitely. I love sport. Oh, I just have
what's your sport of choice?
Well, probably AFL.
Okay.
Australian rules football.
Yep.
But I love everything. I still play footy, I still play cricket, I still play tennis, I surf,
Amazing.
I'm a jock. I'm a jock. And there's a group of us that still, they're mainly comedians and musos and rock musos. We still kick the footy twice a week.
Oh, that's awesome.
Who's your AFL team?
Melbourne. Go D's.
Yeah, go the D's.
Actually, talking about, I think you said you had Ben Northey.
We did, yep.
I know very well. Ben, well, he's a Ballarat boy as well.
Yeah.
where I was from. He used to live across the road from me.
Oh, really?
And
wow.
actually, and his dad, his uncle was a great coach. He coached Melbourne, and his dad, beautiful family in the North. Anyway, I brought Ben down to play footy once. Did his quad.
Oh.
He hasn't come back down. Or was it his hammy or his quad? So I've got to get him back down.
Don't break Ben.
Yeah.
No.
He's a big Tiger fan. Big Tiger boy. What about you? Do you follow any team? Do you follow a team?
Adam?
For me, I follow the D's for my sins.
Oh, Adam, I didn't know that.
Yes. Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
Fantastic. Well, it's like my son who I gave, he's inherited and I passed it down to him, the love of the D's. And there was a story, I remember he came home from school one day. His sister, Maddie, was 5 at the time. He would have been about 3. And she went over to the window and started praying. And she said, "Dear Lord, please come into my heart and I will be your helper." And my wife, Amber, was at the kitchen bench going, "Oh, darling, that's a lovely thing to think. What a lovely prayer and thinking about everyone big-hearted. And here, I've just made a couple of, cupcakes. Have a cupcake or 2. And so Sam's over the other side of the room and he was listening to what's going on thinking, geez, I wouldn't mind a piece of this action. He went over to the same spot in the window with the sun streaming down, put his hands together, made sure Mum was watching and went, "Go D's." That was his prayer. Didn't work.
I was going to say it probably didn't work for about 2/3 of the season, but we appreciate the sentiment.
No cupcakes, eh?
Anyway, sorry, go on.
If you could perform a duet with anyone in the world, living or dead, who would it be?
Oh, God.
That's a hard one, eh?
That is so hard. Gee, that's tough. Who did you say?
Oh, no, you can't borrow them.
No, you can't borrow it. It's got to
No, I'm
be
not going to borrow it. I'm just curious. There's so many. How do you choose one? So it's got to be a singer, obviously.
Well, not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
I feel like somebody's picked a clarinetist.
Yeah, you're right. Someone did pick an
Yeah.
instrumentalist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go really left field. Linda Ronstadt.
Oh, great choice. Linda Ronstadt. That'd be great.
What would you
Yeah,
sing?
Linda Ronstadt.
Long, long time.
Oh, that's great.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, I'd pay to hear that. That's really good, actually. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Well, if I went classical, it would have offended everyone.
Yeah.
Actually, I was going to say Groucho Marx for a minute.
Oh, that would have been
Groucho
good.
Marx. But and who have you enjoyed singing the most with? Like who vocally have both of you had the most kind of wow factor when you've sung with them?
Probably I got to sing with Jamie Barton in Roberto Devereux over in San Francisco.
Oh, nice.
And she's also a dear friend of mine, but just like vocally, like that was extraordinary to do that.
Fantastic. What about you, Adam?
Oh, see, I'd go back very early in my singing career. One of the first oratorios I did was with Felicity Baldock.
Oh,
and funnily, we spoke about this on another episode, but
we did, yeah.
She was just so fantastic to sing with, and I still think about that to this day.
It's nice.
Actually, I remember. I mean, not similarly, but just thinking of people, connecting with or good moments. I was doing we're doing New Opera in San Francisco, talking of this is another mentor-y type thing, and I was a young singer. It was people like Tom Hampson and
oh wow,
it was von Stade and Renee Fleming and all these Judith Force, all these people, and I had to do a bed scene with Frederica von Stade.
Oh wow!
So you imagine how nervous I was.
Wow.
And I loved her voice, and she's such a great singer. We go to the bed, and she takes my hand. She said, "Oh, David, I'm so nervous about doing this." So she was saying to me, "I know you're nervous."
Bless her.
Like that. How
wow.
cool is that?
That's
and then
amazing.
she's saying, and you just melt.
Yeah. Oh God, I love that. Okay, 5th and final question. Here we go.
5th question.
If you had to enter every room for the rest of your life with a theme song, and it would be your own personal theme song, what would it be?
That I sang?
What? No, you didn't have to sing, but every single time you walked into a room, your theme song plays. What is that theme song?
It's got to be a song, doesn't it?
Yeah, I reckon.
Not a rap.
Wow. Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. This definitely throws a lot of people.
I mean, you kind of think, what's my favourite song? I don't have one. I mean, is it a Beatles song? is a
What says hobo as soon as you walk in the room? That's the question.
yeah, good question. Oh, what says me? Gee, how long do people take to answer this one? Isn't that interesting? What would define me?
Have we given David Hobson an existential crisis?
You really have. No, that's a really, really good question. I mean, things like, the soprano aria from Zaida, why does that come into my head? Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
It sounds, it doesn't say me. I'm just saying what stuff's coming through my head.
Yeah.
Till There Was You comes into my head.
Oh, that's good. That's quite good.
That's a good
actually.
one.
I like that. Till There Was You.
That's one of my favourite songs. Oh, let's just say Till There Was You.
There we go.
Beautiful.
Because it's from music theatre.
Beautiful.
But it's the Beatles who I just absolutely worship and adore. Oh, could it be? No, I think Till There Was You was good.
It's a good
It's a
choice.
good answer.
It's a good choice.
Yeah.
We'll give it to you. That can be your theme song. We like that a lot.
Is that it? I'm sad. I'd like to see you guys again. That was so lovely.
Well, then, let's do this again another time because we've clearly got so much more we'd love to chat about. This has been so much fun. I'm going to throw to Helena for one final question with the really burning bonus 6th rapid fire question. Let's hear an answer to this. Here we go.
This is very important. Do you eat pizza with a knife and fork?
Yeah. Oh, definitely a knife and fork.
Oh, no! Oh, no!
Yes. And people think I'm mad.
Oh, good. I'm glad people are judging
My
you.
wife goes, what are you doing? Why are you eating,
That's a point to Team Helena.
Oh, God. We've had such a good run.
Is that what you do?
Oh, yeah. Helena does.
Do you
It's
use
terrible.
a knife and fork?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And Adam gave me so much shit
So
about it
with
that
you.
last time I tried to eat a cookie at his place, he put a knife and fork on the table to try and be smart. And I was like, sorry. No, I love it.
I love it.
Oh,
It's so
gosh.
funny.
Well, look, on that just devastating note for me, I think we're going to wrap it up. But, David, thank you so much for coming on the episode. This has been great.
No, thank you. It's been an honour to, flatter me having me on. So thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's been lovely. Thanks so much.
Two such luminaries. Thank you, Helena, Adam. Thanks so much for having me. Great to see you.
Bye.